Hey, gang. So I want to go over really quick how you answer these questions. This will be what you see on your assessment. So we're going to start off with this data for Big Maple Lake. And for number one, your answer should be PFAS. And it stays the same until 2004. It increases after 2004. That's kind of what's going on here. You can describe any of the other graphs as well, just as long as you describe them accurately. You can tell if they're staying the same, like chlorophyll is for the most part. It's staying above the line, or water clarity is staying mostly below the line. But water clarity jumps around a lot. So you try to find something that's kind of easier to say, like it's increasing after a certain amount of time. Make sure you make note of the year. That's kind of what these green things are telling you, is basically indicate which graph it is that you're talking about, and then tell what is actually happening. Say things like increasing, decreasing, or if it's staying the same, and include the years. That's what you need to look for and do when you write your answers. Number two, there is only one answer. It's PFAS. And that's because these other two are not actually pollutants. They are just indicators of pollutants. So you want to look at that sheet of paper from your notes, not this one, but your other notes, sorry, this thing you guys have in your notebook. You want to look at this list and see if any of these show up on those graphs. And chlorophyll, it's not on this list. And water clarity, it's not on this list. So PFAS was the only one. And then describe the quality. Overall, it's poor because PFAS, that's a pollutant, and it's above the line. And that means that it fails. If it's below the line, that means that it's passing and that it's not considered a significant pollutant. But this is the where it was a pollutant, and especially after 2008. So you want to make sure that you mention that in your answer. Okay? So that's 1 through 3. If you ever need to pause this and go back and kind of listen to what the answers are, feel free to do so. But I'm going to go ahead and look at number 4 and 5. This is where you're using this diagram to tell what's going on. And it's where did that PFAS actually come from? Well, it came from this industry specifically, and you need to say specifically what it was from. It was from like the nonstick cookware and the food packaging. Again, that comes back to this set of notes. When we look at PFAS, oh, here's PFAS, and it's used for nonstick cookware and food packaging. So it didn't come from farm areas. It didn't come from just the parking lot and things like that. It came from those things, and that's what you need to put in your answer, is where it came from and be specific about where it came from, the nonstick cookware and the food packaging. Use that sheet of paper. You have it on there. And then propose a water conservation strategy. You could say things like trees in the parking lots. There are some other ones, like some people will say adopt a drain. It's really any strategy that would end up reducing this pollutant. And that pollutant, it's when you look at these water conservation strategies, prevents flooding. That's not what we're worried about right now, but prevents pollution, trees in urban areas. That's kind of one thing. Agriculture buffer strips, that could be there, but adopt a drain prevents pollution, things like that. Those are things that you want to pull out. You would not say xeriscaping because that's not preventing the pollution. And so those are pieces you want to watch for. And so that's 4 and 5. Use the conservation strategies in order to figure out what it is that you need to do. Part 3 is you are making a claim of what's happening to this lake depth. And over the years, as the year goes on, scientists have predicted that the depth would increase. And so that's what our answer is. We have to say if it's increasing, decreasing, or staying the same. That's what it means by state the trend. Okay? But then propose a reason. This comes from your notes. And you have to make sure that you address it clearly what that's actually coming from. So up in this diagram, there's these big parking lots that are around. And when we looked at our notes from before, not that, that's from other stuff, this stuff, and we looked at what are causes for lake levels to drop and what causes flooding and pollution. And the lake level is increasing. That sounds more like flooding, and it comes from large paved areas or having too much water flow into sewers. And from our diagram, we have these large paved areas from big parking lots. So that is more what our answer is going to be. It's runoff or flooding from paved areas. Then, propose an additional change people could make. This again comes from our water conservation strategies worksheet. We have to state the strategy and what it does. And so when we look back at that water conservation one, we're looking at things that now prevent flooding. And you have lots of different options. Again, you wouldn't say xeriscaping because that's not preventing flooding. That's preventing droughts. And so to prevent flooding, you could say anything like green roofs or permeable pavement or rain gardens, things like that. But you also need to describe how they work in your answer. And so you could say create rain gardens around the industry. They increase infiltration. They reduce runoff. Those are things that you need to put into your answer. So that's kind of it. That's how you answer those questions. But you're going to try another example. I want you to do these things. Like when you answer the questions, make sure that you include all of this, because this is what you are, the stuff in the green, like for number 1, indicate which graph you're talking about and tell if it's increasing, decreasing, or staying the same. You need to do that in order to get full points. This is a lot like what you're going to be doing on your assessment on Friday. But reach out if you have questions.